Hello, today I'm going to be doing an overview of the basic survivability options in the game, which I use to build Warframes to survive in level cap and general endurance missions. This video wasn't requested or anything, but I feel like it's kind of good information that I can share. This isn't how to make a super optimized damage build for every single Warframe, so I'm not really the best at building in that way, but I am good at putting together mods according to some basic principles, core mods that function well enough to take me to level cap and generally just clear game content. This video also won't really go over damage or weapon options, just how you're going to survive in missions, but it is important to note that being able to kill things is going to help you stop them from killing you. Before you bring up sources of damage reduction like adaptation and things, I'm going to tell you straight up, it doesn't scale well enough to take you to level cap. You'll die probably because enemies just do way too much damage, but it's fine for lower level steel path things, probably anywhere up to level 1000 or so. And you're free to take advantage of them if you like. To start, you kind of need to understand what survivability options your Warframe comes with fresh out of the box. There are three general categories, with invincible Warframes and stealth Warframes being really easy to survive with, then some special cases of survivability options being built into a frame's kit, and then Warframes that require shield gating as their primary source of survival. Shield gating just uses specific mods which regenerate your shields according to the amount of energy that you spend casting abilities, but we'll go over that later when we go through those frames. These tier list images that I made may be a little bit inaccurate, but it should cover the general frames that fall into each category. There is a secret fourth category of Warframes that don't even have shields, and I'm going to take the lazy way out and tell you just use Vazarin's Protective Sling or a Quiver Subsume, and then ignore the fact that these even exist. Galervo technically exists in this realm also, but he gets some overguard gating, so he's kind of in between, and I consider him a shield gator. So let's get into some examples of these Warframes and how you go about building them. You can start with Revenant. He has access to Mesmer Skin, which gives you charges that provide invincibility whenever you take damage. He's the pinnacle of survivability, and all you really need to do is build for power strength for more charges, and then whatever other mods you need to fit the build, you're using on him. He's pretty straightforward. Next are stealth frames. Generally, these Warframes will benefit from duration and energy efficiency, and sometimes you'll want to bring Rolling Guard or some shield gate based mods like Brief Respite or some Augur mods as a fallback option just in case you do end up taking damage. Rolling Guard is a really important mod to keep in basically all of your builds. It provides status cleanse, which can save you from Toxin and all of the DOTs that Eximus apply, and also gives you 3 seconds of invincibility for some breathing room. Besides that, stealth builds are very flexible, and as long as you keep your invisibility up, you tend to have no issues staying alive. Now some special cases. Irelia has a 4-second on-demand invincibility button with her second ability, and with that in mind, you can build her for energy sustain and also shield recharge to regenerate some shields while you remain invulnerable. These mods are Fast Deflection, Vigilante Vigor, and also Arcane Aegis. Partial shield gating with Brief Respite and Augur mods can help, but really they aren't necessary. Beyond this, a lot of her kit is flexible, and you can bring her augment mod for some QOL as well. Wisp is another good example of a frame that isn't quite stealth, but has a lot of survivability options. When she's airborne, she becomes invisible, she can double tap her third ability for 3 seconds of invincibility, and she also gets electric crowd control through her motes, as well as radial blind abilities. In this case, you can build core shield gating mods on her, but she also mainly benefits from energy sustain to cast her invincibility and other abilities a little bit easier. Nova is an example of a frame that relies almost fully on shield gating, and while she does have crowd control, in the current meta with overguarded enemies, this is actually not really always valuable to keep a frame alive past a certain point in endurance missions. With shield gating, we want to take advantage of a shield mechanic that provides invulnerability after your shield breaks by constantly capping out our shields with ability casts. The main mods that you use to do this are Brief Respite, any of the Augur mods, and Catalyzing Shields, which reduces your max shield amount in order to make sure that your shields cap out on an ability cast and give you about 1.33 seconds of breathing room when your shields break again. Decaying Dragon Keys work, but the gate duration drops to 0.33 seconds, which is really hard to manage, and I don't really recommend it. Generally, if you are building shield gating frames, you want to build energy sustain via Arcane Energize, Equilibrium, Purple Equilibrium Shards, some aspect of the frame's kit that refunds energy orbs, subsumes like Nourish, and some companion abilities that also provide you with orbs, like Death Cube. What you don't want to do is build energy efficiency, as this will reduce your energy expenses, which reduces the shield that you get refunded on ability casts. You also want to make sure that your frame has a recastable ability with a reasonable cast speed and energy cost to keep your shield gate constant and as instant as possible. If your cast is slow, you can try to make up for it by building yellow casting speed shards. As a final touch, you should always bring Rolling Guard into the equation for moments where you are afflicted by status or just need some breathing room. Those are some of the basic modding principles, but a couple of subsumes you can also use to supplement survivability are Pillage for some shield refunding and Quiver for really easy invisibility that you can keep around you by shooting a floating sentinel companion. This is considered a little cheesy by a lot of people, including myself, but if it works for you, feel free to use it. Some special frames like Jade, Gauss, and Caliban, and to be honest, all frames, can benefit from the core shield recharge kit as well. This is just fast deflection, vigilante vigor, and arcane aegis, which really improve your ability to naturally regenerate shields. This won't substitute shield gating on most frames, but it is nice as an added layer of protection if you do need it or find that it fits your frame's kit. Aegis can slot in as a flexible arcane in all kinds of builds, so if you're stuck, it never hurts to include it. The new arcane secondary fortifier is also a really good survival option. As long as you're able to shoot at an overguarded enemy with your secondary, you're going to charge up free overguard. This is really effective on the Aki core specifically, since you can usually hit overguarded enemies without needing to really aim at them specifically, and it is also a good supplemental survival option. This works really well with a partial shield gate Saren build that I've used with the Aki core, since I don't run that with catalyzing shields, and the Aki core overguard picks up the slack. Probably the last major set of help you can get is from companions and also your operator passives. Sentinels can be equipped with the sacrifice mod to allow them to revive you as long as they are alive, and the Vasca Kavat can accomplish something similar with the transfusion mod. This isn't 100% reliable though, so operator passives like Last Gasp, which revive you as long as you kill 3 enemies, or a single Eximus are really solid also. Of course, Vazarin's protective sling can be really useful as well, and it's basically a must-have for long disruptions and things. Though you can't bring this everywhere since some missions will benefit more from Matterized damage bonuses, like in Void Cascade. You can also use your operator's stealth mode to take a breather and avoid death in some cases. Just make sure that you don't have any active channeled abilities, which make your frame vulnerable while you're an operator. This is not super consistent across abilities, so there is a slightly more comprehensive list put together by Saber Walrus and Best Fish, linked in the description. Generally, I start by going over what kind of Warframe I'm dealing with, and whether or not they have any reasonable survivability in their kit. If they do, I tend to try to build around it, and enhance it with mods like Rolling Guard, Brief Respite, or the Shield Recharge kit. If they don't, then I usually spec into a standard shield gating setup using Rolling Guard, Brief Respite, and catalyzing shields, as well as auger mods as needed. Any other mods that I use just end up working around the subsumes and overall kit of the frame, so this will just depend on who you're building. That's basically it for this overview of what I'm kind of thinking of and commonly using when I'm building Warframes for endurance and level cap. Nothing that I covered in this video is really new or revolutionary, and it's actually also not really that comprehensive, but I think it's relevant to the channel, so I thought it would be nice to keep an overview around that I can point to if people are curious about modding Warframes. Thanks for watching and for all the recent support. If you have any questions, feel free to comment and I'll try to answer. See y'all.